may have stumbled a little bit earlier by forgetting my question, but I think that is incomparable to assuming companies that are developed for the sole purpose of attaining profits are somehow going to change their incentives, somehow going to change their aims, because the Malaysian government told them that. You know what happened the last time we tried to tell a company named Intel to adapt towards Malaysian policies? They left us for Vietnam. In the world of government, they'd have to defend the world of protectionism. They have to defend the world of high taxation. They have to defend the world with the lack of opportunities for the young Malaysians Jason claims to defend, but only does so with rhetoric and emotion. The first thing I will tell you, companies aren't going to change. Companies will always want profit. So the question then becomes, where do they go? If in the case of Malaysia implementing minimum wage hikes, maybe implementing a $15 hike, they'll just leave you. The second thing then, even if they don't leave, the second best alternative then is to automate. So all of the jobs that you claim to have in your world of government would simply be lost. The second thing I want to talk about is this entire framing of opposition being the evil capitalists. Notice, what does the rich man in Mount Kiara have to do with economic development in Malaysia? I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty sure you guys weren't either. The second thing Jason tried to tell you is that Malaysia is fine without private investment. We'll do perfectly fine. Like, wow, I didn't know the reincarnation of Fidel Castro was going to be among us today, right? You want to know what a world of private investment without private investment looks like? It's a world where all the private universities our esteemed guests were telling you about wouldn't exist. It's a world where all of the education and all the technological sectors that have been developed in Malaysia would also not exist. It's a world where all of the firms that are accounting for almost 40% of the jobs in the Malaysian economy would not exist. So you cannot trade off the private companies and private investment without telling us what the benefit to that trade-off is. The second thing I talk about, and I'm really going to have fun with this, the success stories we have in government are communal successes. What does that even mean? There are a lot of things that I can deem successful to me. But if I'm living in Cuba, perpetually stuck in the 1970s, I can be happy, but that's not very great for my country. I will not have the same kind of money that you would have. The world of government is a world where the individuals they claim to defend have less of an income, have less money, and they're perpetually stuck in a cycle of poverty. But as long as they're happy, what's the problem, right? So before I move into my argument, I would love to have a question.
So the comparison on your side, you say, is that far more people will be enriched with companies that are willing to invest. The assumption here is that companies work in the best interests of society, but having said already that they're all self-interested and profit-motivated, how do you make that happen?
Oh, sure. So while they may be self-interested, the way that they're self-interested is often beneficial to the people on the ground. So what does it mean? When a company opens a headquarters in Malaysia, it hires Malaysians, it hires engineers, it hires people that graduate from local industries. This should be pretty common. But firstly, I'm going to tell you what the stance from opposition is. We would prioritize economic development. We're going to prioritize economic opportunity. What does this translate to? We are all for lowering taxes for businesses. We're all for securing foreign direct investments. We're all for opening factories or company headquarters here in Malaysia. We are all for increasing the jobs. Anything that does not look like this is not in the best interest of Malaysia. We are against protectionism and we are against higher taxation in the name of pursuing welfare. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that I would love for Malaysia to be the bastion of social justice in Southeast Asia. However, I do not think that we're in a position capable of it. The first reason is that I think Malaysia's economy is heavily export-based, right? We trade 175 billion in terms of exports. The second thing, we trade electronics, we trade rubber, we trade pharmaceuticals. The second thing is that Malaysia is in a pretty tight situation currently. Not only are we recovering from the scandals mentioned earlier, but also the oil crash earlier, right? The second problem is that we're also trying to compete regionally. While we are the biggest exporter at the moment, Philippines, Vietnam and Thailand are quickly approaching us and quickly challenging our stance there. So what does it mean at the point where we pursue economic empowerment, right? It would mean abandoning stances or lessening your free trade, like lessening the amount of companies that enter your country. The problem with this is, with as reliant as we are on these exports, the moment that you disincentivize people from going there, the problem is that the entire economy that relies on this one thing starts to flounder. So what does it translate to? Less of a GDP, less money for the government to operate with, less stuff like that. Secondly, in the world where we implement the policies of government, what happens? First, sit down. Firstly, right, the cost of running businesses becomes significantly more expensive for most companies within Malaysia, right? So I think the things we can expect to happen come in 3 stages. The first would, of course, be the layoffs that Microsoft did in Malaysia recently, right? Firing their staff because it's too expensive to keep them. The second thing, even in the context of a poorer person, it would mean your jobs being optimized. If it is more expensive to have humans working in your factory, the next best alternative are the robots, which are pretty great. So the second thing then, at that point, more people leave that economy. The third problem then is companies pulling out of your country because it becomes too expensive to be within there. So for example, not only Intel leaving, but also Samsung closing down their factories to leave us for Vietnam. In conclusion, this side is a side that has to deal with it, and they have to defend a world where we have significantly less jobs. Yes, Jason.
If it is true that your multinational corporations are almighty gods that we need to pander to, would you abolish minimum wage in Malaysia to attract more companies?
If abolishing minimum wage would mean Malaysia having more economic opportunities, then sure. The second thing that I'll tell you, how does this hurt the poor? We think that not only does it hurt the poor in the sense where they no longer have a job, no longer have jobs to support them, but you also perpetually trap them in the welfare trap. So in absence of actual working opportunities, the next best alternative for the poor would be welfare. So what would this mean? It would mean they would perpetually have to rely on handouts, perpetually rely on government stakeouts. So the problem then is that these individuals lose their agency to control the decisions they make with their lives. So the little 1,000 ringgit you could have made with a job, not only do you have to rely on the government for it, but you also have to wait for it. It's also heavily dependent on the economic situation. All it's going to take is someone like Donald Trump to come around and remove your healthcare, and that's it, you're gone. So in conclusion, the last thing I will say then is that the economy today is not going to be the same as the economy tomorrow. So what does this mean? The economy isn't going to slow down for Malaysia. Just because we say we're going to take things easy, that doesn't mean the economy will. If Malaysia stops prioritizing economic growth, we will be left behind. We will be taken over by countries like Thailand and the Philippines. Audience, do not be confused. The side of government would like you to believe that they want a richer Malaysia with rich Malaysians, but the outcomes of your actions bring a poor Malaysia with poorer Malaysians. Thank you.